Alright, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Avatar: The Last Airbender. We only have 3 episodes, including this one. This is part 2, the Masters. This is going to be more of a video essay than it is a watch and react video with commentary and with a review at the end. I will still do a review at the end, but it's more so going to be a video essay, if that makes sense. So before we jump into the main story of the Masters, we are going to jump into what happened previously to kind of build up what's going to happen in the next 3 episodes. And the first thing is the last episode that we saw. Aang was told that he had to kill the Fire Lord. This upset him. He's always for peace and not killing people. Of course, he's the Avatar. His whole thing is, peace and bringing balance to the world. And so him being told by multiple people that he's going to have to kill the Fire Lord pretty much sets him off. He leaves the group, but doesn't leave the area that they're in. He just goes off into a different room and starts to meditate, but not in a way that is going to put him in the spirit world. He's just basically regular meditating, just kind of thinking on things. He's not trying to go into the spirit world or contact anybody from the spirit world. So he's just kind of just there. A few minutes later go by, maybe an hour or two. There's a little time lapse that jumps in, and he's with Momo. Momo's just kind of hanging out, napping, while Aang basically naps because he kind of falls over and just starts snoring, or he's meditating there and he's snoring. And it's pretty interesting that he's not just jumping into the spirit world trying to figure out what's going on, how to fix this problem, but he does end up somewhat waking up, I would say, in a kind of sleepwalking mode. And he starts walking towards the balcony, and we're kind of like, okay, why are you walking towards the balcony? What's going on here? And then we get a perspective of what he's looking at, and there's this big island that's right off of the coast of the island that they are on. And he goes down to the beach. It's a long little montage of him basically walking and then swimming to this island. He is then on the island, and we get this transition where it goes from night to day, and the island is gone. Then, of course, the gang goes to look for him. That's a good chunk of that episode. They don't find him, and they have an idea, and they go to a bar, and that's where we set up this episode. We do see June, who is the, I guess, lizard. I forget what they call those giant things, but it's basically a lizard horse thing that can find people with smell. So that is where we are at. June is having a little fight in the bar there, and we basically end the episode with Aang waking up and not knowing where he's at, and that is pretty much where the ending of the last episode is. We do have to go back a little bit further for some more context for these next 3 episodes, which I'll give more context to this thought process again probably the next 2 times. So with that being said, let's jump into this episode of Avatar: The Last Airbender. Here we go. Alright, Avatar, Book 3, Chapter 19, Sozins Comet, Part 2. So we open at the tavern where we see June fighting in the previous episode with a bunch of bar boys, and she's doing fairly well. They stop fighting, and she sits down and sees that the gang is there and is wondering what the heck's going on.
Oh, great, it's Prince Pouty.
She asks about Uncle Iroh.
Where's your creepy grandpa?
Zuko corrects her.
He's my uncle, and he's not here.
June assumes Zuko and Katara are dating.
I see you work things out with your girlfriend.
They both get angry.
I'm not my girlfriend!
And then, of course, June asks why they're there.
I was only teasing. So what do you want?
And, of course, they need help finding Aang because he's just disappeared.
I need your help finding the Avatar.
June decides to help him.
Doesn't sound too fun.
Does the end of the world sound like more fun?
But needs something of Aang's.
Okay, so who's got something with the Avatar scent on it?
Because the tracking animal that she has needs a scent, and so they decide to get Aang's staff.
I have Aang's staff.
And then nothing. He can't be found.
Well, what does that mean?
It means your friend's gone.
She thinks he doesn't exist.
I mean, he's gone. He doesn't exist.
Meanwhile, back with Aang on the floating island thing, Aang tries to figure out where he is.
Where are we, Momo?
He thinks he's in the spirit world,
Maybe I'm in the spirit world?
but Momo's with him, so that really doesn't make sense.
But wait, you can see me. We could both be in the spirit world.
But weirder things have happened. Usually in the Avatar series, you don't have anyone else go with you into the spirit world, except for the Netflix show, which we might talk about in another episode. But Aang is a little confused why Momo's there, because usually it's just him in the spirit world, and unless something had died or someone had died, he's the only one in the spirit world. He can't just bring them with him. So he tries to do a little airbending, and it works. So we're not in the spirit world. So then he decides to go to the top of the island.
If we climb to the top of the island, we can figure out where we are.
And we cut back to June and the gang.
What do you mean Aang doesn't exist? Do you mean he's, dead?
June says even if Aang was dead, he would be able to be tracked.
Nope, we could find him if he were dead. Oh, it's a real head-scratcher.
So Zuko changes his mind and says, okay, let's not find Aang because he's off doing some avatar-y thing. Let's find this other person.
There's only one other person in this world who can help us face the Fire Lord.
And he goes and grabs something.
I'll be right back with a smell sample.
And he comes back from Appa and he gives June a very smelly sandal. And of course it's Uncle Iroh's.
You saved your uncle's sweaty sandal?
June can track him and off we go.
Let's do this.
We have a little traveling montage with June running off and the gang flying behind her. And we get a little bit of, places that we've probably seen before. They all look kind of familiar. And so we're just kind of traveling kind of far. Then we end up in a very familiar place with a wall and a big hole or crack in said wall. Then June decides to leave because the person that they were looking for, of course Uncle Iroh, is close and they should be able to find him from there. He's inside the walls of Ba Sing Se, and she doesn't particularly like Ba Sing Se, so she decides to poof away.
Your uncle's somewhere beyond the wall. Nyla's getting twitchy, so he can't be too far. Good luck.
And the kids decide it's getting late. We've traveled all day. Let's take a little break, camp out here, and regroup in the morning.
It's been a long day. Let's camp and start our search again at dawn.
Back on the island, Aang finds a big circle symbol and is trying to figure out what it is.
It's a hexagon. It doesn't seem like normal rock.
He does a little earth bending, and it's not made of earth, it is something else.
It's not made of earth.
He wishes he had help and that he could talk to Roku.
This is so strange. I wish I had some help right now. I wish I had Roku.
And then he has a light bulb moment and says, huh,
I do have Roku.
well, I probably could talk to Roku because I just have to meditate in a way that connects me to Avatar Roku. We kind of wish that he figured that out before when he was meditating on the island, but, too little too late. Avatar Roku says that
You're right, Aang. All the past avatars, all their experience and wisdom is available to you.
all of the past Avatar incarnations are available to Aang to figure out what he needs to figure out. But even Avatar Roku has no clue where Aang is.
So where am I, Roku? What is this place?
I don't know, Aang.
Which is kind of weird because he's dead, but he's kind of in the spirit world, so he should be able to track him, but even Avatar Roku cannot track where Aang is, so that's kind of interesting. He also says that Aang is lost in more ways than one.
But I see that you are lost in more ways than one right now.
And Aang has to figure out what to do about the Fire Lord, because he doesn't want to kill him.
I need to figure out what to do once I face the Fire Lord.
But then we jump back to the camp where the gang is basically just kind of resting, sleeping. Toph has a weird feeling and suddenly wakes up. Then there is basically a fire attack. There is a giant ring of fire that surrounds the camp. They all freak out because there's a giant fire ring around them. And there are two figures in black and white robes on a boulder right above the group there. Then two more white and black robed figures appear. Then we zoom in and it's the old masters, including King Boomy.
Well, look who's here.
Then we jump back to the island. We start talking to Avatar Roku.
Everyone expects me to take the Fire Lord's life, but I just don't know if I can do that.
We go back into what we kind of already know of his history.
In my life, I tried to be disciplined and show restraint, but it backfired.
And how he had to stop the Fire Lord, but he didn't kill him.
When Fire Lord Sozin took advantage of my restraint and mercy,
and gave him a second chance, and that was probably a bad idea.
If I had been more decisive and acted sooner, I could have stopped Sozin.
Avatar Roku also tells Aang that he has to be decisive.
I offer you this wisdom, Aang. You must be decisive.
That he has to pick what he's going to do and just do it. Don't think about it too much. Just be decisive. Back at the camp, Toph decides to call the Masters old.
What's going on? We're surrounded by old people.
Katara explains who these people are.
Not just any old people. These are great masters and friends of ours.
Of course, we have Pakku, the waterbending master.
Pakku.
It is respectful to bow to an old master.
Who is now a part of the family. I guess he decided to go to the Southern Water Tribe and to propose to Gran.
But how about a hug for your new grandfather?
So now he is Grandpa Master Pakku.
I made her a new betrothal necklace and everything.
Of course, Sokka gets weird and starts hugging him.
Welcome to the family, Gramp.
And makes a joke and calls him Grand Pakku.
You can still just call me Pakku.
How about Grandpaku?
So then we meet the Fire Master Zhong.
And this was Aang's first firebending teacher.
Zhong.
Who we met back in Season 1, who tried to train Aang, but Aang was not ready to master fire just yet, and he burned Katara. We don't like to bring that up, but it is a necessary plot point because that is one of the reasons why Aang was having trouble learning to bend, because he doesn't want to have to learn fire because he's not sure if he can control it. And so we meet the Fire Master from way back in season 1. Then, of course, we meet Master Pian Dao, who is the Master of Swords.
Master Piandao.
Hello, Sokka.
And he is the one who trained Sokka in the fighting styles of the sword and basically kung fu in different movements, evasions, attacking, all with a sword. He's one of my more favorite masters because he teaches more on the actual fighting styles than just bending. And then, of course, there's King Bumi, who is kind of the nut job of the group. He is the fun-loving nut job king, and of course he makes a joke about old people.
So wait, how do you all know each other?
All old people know each other. Don't you know that?
We are told that they are a part of a secret society.
We're all part of the same ancient secret society, a group that transcends the divisions of the 4 nations.
Called the White Lotus.
The Order of the White Lotus.
And apparently Uncle Iroh called them all to be together.
A call went out that we were needed for something important.
Something important was coming, and so Uncle Iroh decided to get them all together so that they would be ready to do what's necessary, I guess.
It came from a Grand Lotus, your uncle, Iroh of the Fire Nation.
And of course, wise King Bumi notices that someone is missing from the group.
Wait, someone's missing from your group.
And
Someone very important.
where's Momo, he asks.
Where's Momo?
And then they explain that him and Aang are gone. They kind of just disappeared.
He's gone. And so is Aang.
But King Bumi, being King Bumi's not worried. They've probably needed this little diversion, and they'll be fine.
Oh well, so long as they have each other, I'm sure we have nothing to worry about.
Then we jump back to the island. Avatar Aang decides to call Avatar Kyoshi.
Avatar Kyoshi, I need your wisdom.
And we get her backstory again. They explained that there was a conqueror taking over the entire thing. She decided to take her land that was attached to land and turn it into an island. So she split the rock, and the conqueror who was coming to attack them fell to his death. Avatar makes a kind of a poignant point in pointing out, that's a lot of points, that...
But you didn't really kill Shin. Technically, he fell to his own doom because he was too stubborn to get out of the way.
She says...
Personally, I don't really see the difference.
I don't really see it that way. There's really no difference between me having physically attacked him and him being stubborn and falling to his own demise. It's basically the same thing, which is interesting concept, but we don't have enough time to really deep dive into that ideology. She says only justice will bring peace.
I offer you this wisdom, Aang. Only justice will bring peace.
And of course, Aang gets upset because he knows that he's probably going to have to kill the Fire Lord.
I knew I shouldn't have asked Kyoshi.
Back with the gang, Sokka asks King Bumi how did he escape.
So, Bumi, how did you end up escaping your imprisonment in Omashu?
Escape? I didn't escape. Everybody else escaped.
And we get a little montage of what happened. it was the day of Black Sun, and all of the Fire Nation was losing their fire, and so King Boomy decides to call up some rocks. He's, of course, in a little metal box and hung up on a chain, like a couple feet in the air, probably a couple 100 feet in the air, but he's able to call up rocks to break open the prison that he's in. He then goes on a rampage and gets rid of the Fire Nation that's there and uses the Fire Lord's statue, makes a little smiley face first, but uses the Fire Lord statue to destroy the bridge on his at his kingdom. So that's pretty interesting, seeing how strong King Boomy actually is. He's able to push a 100+ foot statue down the hill and destroy a bridge, and then beat up a bunch of Fire Nation people, Fire Nation guards. It's pretty interesting. And then, of course, in comedic style, right after the battle, he decides to chomp on some rock candy. Then King Boomy asks both Sokka and Prince Zuko if they did anything interesting during the day of Black Sun.
So what about you guys? Did you do anything interesting on the day of the eclipse?
And instead of going to a very detailed story about all of that, they say, nah.
Nah, no, not really.
Then back on the island, Aang calls Avatar Karuk.
I am Avatar Karuk,
Who is a fun-loving surfing dude. We get a montage of what he kind of did. He says that he lived in a time of peace, which, that kind of happens. He didn't really have to do too much, but he did have to deal more so with the spirit world, and he kind of pissed off Ko, the face stealer, and he lost his the love of his life, at least of that version of his life. Meaning the Avatar, you have multiple lives, so he lost that version of the love of his life, and so he never got over that. His word of advice is to
Aang. You must actively shape your own destiny and the destiny of the world.
Meanwhile, King Boomy and the rest of the masters bring the gang to what Boomy calls old people camp.
Well, here we are. Welcome to Old People Camp.
Zuko asks where his uncle is and is told that he is in that tent over there.
Where is he?
Your uncle's in there, Prince Zuko.
And so he goes over there, but decides not to go in. And he sits down outside of the tent, and Katara comes over.
Are you okay?
No, I'm not okay.
He says that his uncle hates him.
My uncle hates me, I know it. He loved me and supported me in every way he could, and I still turned against him.
Which he technically did. Katara asks if he was sorry for what he did, and he says yes.
You're sorry for what you did, right?
That he's more sorry than anything.
More sorry than I've been about anything in my entire life.
Katara says that Uncle Iroh will definitely forgive him.
Then he'll forgive you. He will.
Zuko is there sitting, and we jump back to Aang. Aang is kind of upset about the answers that he's been given because most of them have been, you're gonna have to kill the Fire Lord. He doesn't like this answer.
They keep telling me I'm gonna have to do it. They don't get it.
But he thinks, maybe if I talk to a fellow airbender, they might understand what's going on and how we both would believe, and maybe they would give me some advice on how not to kill the Fire Lord.
You're right. Maybe an air nomad avatar will understand where I'm coming from.
He calls up Avatar Yang Chen.
I am Avatar Yang Chen, young airbender.
He tells her that he doesn't like violence, he doesn't want to have to kill, and what should he do? She says that it isn't about him.
But this isn't about you.
It's about the world.
This is about the world.
He said that he was taught to detach himself from the world.
But the monks taught me that I had to detach myself from the world so my spirit could be free.
And she replies that as the Avatar, you can never fully detach yourself from the world.
But the Avatar can never do it.
You are there to protect the world, not detach yourself from it.
Because your sole duty is to the world.
And so you will never be able to fully detach yourself from the world. Back at camp, Zuko is sitting in Uncle Iroh's tent. He decided to go in there and kind of meditate, sleep. Uncle Iroh then wakes up and sees Zuko.
Uncle, I know you must have mixed feelings about seeing me.
Zuko starts to cry and asks Uncle Iroh for forgiveness.
I am so sorry, Uncle. I am so sorry and ashamed of what I did.
Uncle Iroh hugs him and says,
I thought you would be furious with me.
I was never angry with you.
Was not angry at him. He was sad because Zuko had lost his way.
I was sad because I was afraid you lost your way.
Zuko confirms that yes, he did lose his way, and Uncle Iroh says that he had found it again.
I did lose my way.
But you found it again.
Zuko makes a joke.
And I'm so happy you found your way here.
It wasn't that hard, Uncle. You have a pretty strong scent.
Aang, at this point, has taken a nap. He wakes up on the island, and we see that there is a section of land that seems to be getting closer, so we try to investigate this. We find out that the island is indeed moving, so we try to figure out what's going on. So Aang rushes down to the water. He jumps in and starts swimming. We notice that there's really nothing underneath the island. It's not just a body of land like an island should be, but it is in fact moving. And then suddenly a giant paw starts moving past Aang. Aang thinks that this is the biggest animal in the world.
It's amazing, Momo! The biggest animal in the world!
Back at camp, Zuko decides to try and get Uncle Iroh to fight the Father Lord.
You're the only person other than the Avatar who can possibly defeat the Father Lord.
Toph points out that Zuko said the Father Lord and makes fun of him.
You mean the Fire Lord?
That's what I just said.
Uncle Iroh says no.
No, Zuko. It won't turn out well. Even if I did defeat Ozai, and I don't know that I could, it would be the wrong way to end the war.
He would be seen as a dictator just like the Fire Father Lord.
History would see it as just more senseless violence. A brother killing a brother to grab power.
He also points out that it needs to be done by the Avatar because he is the bringer of balance.
The only way for this war to end peacefully is for the Avatar to defeat the Fire Lord.
But even if the Avatar did stop the Fire Lord, he would not be able to take the throne because, again, it would be just seen as a power grab.
Then would you come and take your rightful place on the throne?
No, someone new must take the throne.
But somebody else must take the throne.
An idealist with a pure heart and unquestionable honor. It has to be you, Prince Zuko.
They then talk about why Zuko is and isn't right for the throne.
But I've made so many mistakes.
You restored your own honor, and only you can restore the honor of the Fire Nation.
They talk about what if Aang doesn't come back.
What if Aang doesn't come back?
Uncle Iroh says that Aang will come back
and our destinies are upon us. Aang will face the Fire Lord.
That he had a vision.
I had a vision that I would one day take Ba Sing Se.
And that he now realizes
my destiny is to take it back from the Fire Nation.
He says that it is up to Zuko to go back to the Fire Nation to set up himself as the rightful king.
You must return to the Fire Nation so that when the Fire Lord falls, you can assume the throne.
And that it's going to be difficult because Azula's there.
But Azula will be there, waiting for you.
His father's there, but he needs to be there so that way there's no power sweep, that nobody can just come in and say, oh, I'm the new Fire Lord, if Aang is able to defeat this version of the Fire Lord. And they ask Katara to go with Prince Zuko to try and defeat her.
Katara, how would you like to help me put Azula in her place?
It would be my pleasure.
So they all get together, they say their goodbyes, and the gang flies away.
Goodbye, everyone. Today, destiny is our friend. I know it.
Aang is in the water. He's swimming to the front of the island, and he sees a giant eye closed that suddenly opens up. And then a giant paw lifts Aang out of the water, and we find out that it is a giant lion turtle.
A lion turtle?
Which in this world is probably normal, but maybe not the giant part. There probably are lion turtles, but they're probably not island size. Aang asks for its help.
Maybe you can help me. Everyone, even my own past lives, are expecting me to end someone's life.
The lion turtle gives him advice.
Since beginningless time, darkness thrives in the void, but always yields to purifying light.
Then the lion turtle touches Aang's head and chest, making it glow. The lion turtle then puts Aang on land, and then makes a vague statement saying,
wait for him, he will come.
Kind of like Field of Dreams. If you build it, they will come. Meanwhile, we cut to the Fire Nation. The Fire Lord is on a rock talking about burning the world.
It's time for this world to end in fire.
We then start to pan out and we see about 15 war balloons behind him.
And for a new world to be born from the ashes.
And we cut to Sozins' comet hitting the edge of the Earth. So Sozins' comet is now here, and we are starting to get those effects. We then see Aang also standing on a rock, but not talking to himself. That he is there, and we pan up, and we see behind him a glowing red sky, and we know that the comet is now coming. So we know that the end is nigh. Well, we have at least 2 episodes left, but they're going to be interesting. And that's it. The end. So let's talk about it. Alright guys, that was Sozins' Comet Part 2. Pretty interesting episode if I do say so myself. Aang is trying to figure out how not to kill the Fire Lord overall. Again, he calls back all of his, well, not all of his, but a couple of his last previous lives, at least the ones that are in his lifetime of the 4 elements. Most of these guys were not completely helpful. Some of their last words of wisdom were okay, but overall, Aang was not satisfied with the conclusion. If anything, the giant lion turtle was more helpful, which I don't know the complete lore and legend of the lion turtle. They don't get into it in this series, but there are probably other books and things that have come out that I haven't read about Avatar. If you guys do know anything about the giant lion turtle that I don't know, go ahead and tell me some information down in the comments below, because it's pretty interesting. Just let me know, like, you're talking about the lion turtle, because a lot of people just comment thinking that I know what you're talking about because I said something 3 months ago, and you're watching a video from 3 months ago, which is probably this video, and I have no idea what you're talking about. So give me a little bit of a cap of what you're actually talking about. We get to see the old masters, which is obviously pretty fun. Boomy is always a welcome adage to the group here. He is wondering where Momo is, because apparently Momo is the most important person, thing, animal in the group. I don't know, but you know, King Boomy's King Boomy. So that was pretty fun, seeing all of the old masters, getting to learn that we now have a new adage to the Water Tribe family, and so that's fun. We get our new set of commands, basically. We know what we're supposed to do, and now it is time to go do it. So the next 2 episodes are going to be pretty much, I believe, mostly fighting, so we might be able to do a watch and react on the next 2. I definitely will do it on the last one, because that is one, more fighting stuff, and 2, it's more important to see all of that stuff. The next episode, I know that there's going to be a lot of fighting, which I probably could get through in a watch and review, just speed up the fighting stuff. The whole series so far has been pretty interesting. Of course, there's a few, nothing burger episodes, and of course, there are some very great episodes. This episode builds up more on what's to come. The next episode is going to build up more on what's to come, and of course, we're going to be done in 2 episodes. So with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this little review, kind of a video essay, if you will, and this part of the review. I personally think that this episode was definitely a needed thing. It builds up on what's to come, and it's, I would say it's one of the greater episodes in the series. Of course, the last 4 episodes are always some of the best, because they are building up to what's going to happen at the very end. So with that being said, if you guys like this review, go ahead and give this video a thumbs up. If not, go ahead and give it a thumbs down. You guys don't get to see it, so it doesn't matter. If you guys like this series completely from my perspective of watching and reacting to it, go ahead and hit that little subscribe button.
Don't worry about it, you're still in good shape. All you gotta do is just tap it in. Just tap it in now.
I also do the All in the Family series, which is an older series back in the 70s. There are some references that I don't know about, some things that I'm learning about the 70s, but I always grew up with things like All in the Family, MASH, and Bewitched, things like that, back in my childhood. So I like going back and remembering those younger days through TV in hopefully an enjoyable way. I want to thank you guys for getting this far in the video. Of course, I want to thank all of my subscribers, and we will see you next time. Peace.